I want to talk about redistribution to show you how dangerous it really is. It sounds benign, redistribution. After all, you could say, well, by paying taxes, we're already redistributing wealth. The best and most concise article on this is by Thomas Sowell in investors.com. I linked it on michaelsavage.com for those of you who still read. His article is worth quoting. Fallacy of redistribution has grave economic impact. I wouldn't put it that way, but that's the way Thomas does. And I'm going to read you some of it. The recently discovered tape on which Barack Obama said back in 1998 that he believes in redistribution is not really news. But the tape surfacing may serve a useful purpose if it gets people to thinking about the consequences of redistribution. Those who talk glibly about redistribution often act as if people are just inert objects that can be placed here and there like pieces on a chessboard. But if human beings have their own responses to government policies, then we cannot blithely assume that government policies will have the effect intended. The history of the 20th century is full of examples of countries that set out to redistribute wealth and ended up redistributing poverty. The communist nations were a classic example, but by no means the only example. In theory, confiscating the wealth of the more successful people ought to make the rest of the society more prosperous. But when the Soviet Union confiscated the wealth of successful farmers, food became scarce. As many people died of starvation under Stalin in the 1930s as died in Hitler's Holocaust in the 1940s. How can that be? It is not complicated. You can only confiscate the wealth that exists at a given moment. You cannot confiscate future wealth. And that future wealth is less likely to be produced when people see that it is going to be confiscated. Farmers in the Soviet Union cut how much time and effort they invested in growing their crops when they realized that the government was going to take a big part of the harvest. Listen to this. They slaughtered and ate young farm animals that they would normally keep tending and feeding while raising them to maturity. People in industry in America, for example, are not inert objects either. Moreover, unlike farmers, industrialists are not tied to the land in a particular country. Financiers are less tied down, especially today when vast sums of money can be dispatched electronically to any part of the world. If confiscatory policies can produce counterproductive repercussions in a dictatorship, they are even harder to carry out in a democracy. A dictatorship can suddenly swoop down and grab whatever it wants. But a democracy must first have public discussions and debates. Those who are targeted for confiscation can see the handwriting on the wall and act accordingly. Now, he's an intellectual, Thomas Sowell. I'm not. I'm a mere talk show host. It's true that I have a PhD from a great university. It's true I've written 28 books. But I consider myself a man of the people. I'm not an intellect who would be invited to the Hoover Institution. But even I can understand what redistribution really means. It means that if the government becomes so onerous, the people who run factories, own factories rather, the people who build businesses just stop building businesses. They say, the heck with it, I'm giving up. Let the government go to hell. I'm not even going to invest any more of my energy. I have enough money to screw them, and I'm leaving. That's how it works. And so those of you who are jealous of others in society who have better shoes, nicer cars, and prettier wives, you have to understand that eventually you'll wind up eating your own shoe leather if you keep following the line of Barry and Michelle. The phone number here is 1-800-449-8255.